In this video, we are taking a look at the big picture concerning our upcoming dynamic storm. The Storm Prediction Center has already put out risk areas for severe weather on Wednesday and Thursday. On top of that, we have a potential major snowstorm underway as well. We're going to break down all the aspects of this storm right now so you can stay ahead of it. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. In the last video, we talked about that system that hit the Northeast over the past couple of days. I mentioned a lot of people would be surprised by that storm because I figured there would be more snow than forecasted. Turns out I was right, but in a wrong kind of way. Y'all were even more surprised than what I thought because not only did the thing drop more snow, it jogged significantly northwest last minute. Look at all that snow over the past 48 hours. Down here in Stanton, you ended up with about 2 inches. Over here in Harrisonburg, a little bit closer to 3 inches. Of course, in the mountains of West Virginia, we got 6 inches, but this thing took a significantly more north and west track than what we thought it was going to, and this happens a lot with these kind of storms. But Washington, you ended up with nothing. Baltimore, inch or two. But look at this, north and west of Philadelphia near Allentown, we ended up with 6 inches of snow for some people. Over here in North Jersey, some people got 4 inches. And then last night, the thing really started to ramp up over here in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, where some people ended up with 8 inches of snow. This just goes to show you why nowcasting is so important. We've known that this storm was coming for a long time. If you've been watching this channel, we've been talking about this for what feels like to me weeks. But all of the little model swings led us to believe that it was going to be a lower impact kind of storm. But if you were looking at surface observations and the radar as it was coming in, you knew something was getting ready to be different. So yeah, for those of you who like snow up here, I'm not jealous at all. I'm very happy for you. Congrats on the snow. Okay, now let's move on. All right, let's start taking a look at the big picture for our upcoming major storm. This is another one that we've been watching for a while, and we're finally getting close enough to where we think we can nail down the forecast. But as you guys know, little things will change as we go forward. Here's our bowling ball, okay, coming down the west coast. We're looking at 500 millibar wind speeds here. This is way above your head, but what happens up there determines what happens down on the ground. You want to keep up with the date and time? It's up above my head there in Eastern time. Watch that bowling ball come down into California, down through the southwestern portion of the U.S. and really amplify. We got a positively tilted trough here. And if you live in California or anywhere down here in the southwest, you're thinking, wow, this must be crazy. We're going to have a hurricane or something. No, most of the action for you guys is going to be happening way above your head. You might not even notice. Don't get me wrong. The temperature's going to change. You might get some rain showers. There's going to be some gusty winds, especially in the higher elevations where there could be snow. But for the most part, this is all happening way up above your heads. Now, there is another piece of energy coming down from the north that will bring snow to Wyoming, Colorado, and portions of Nebraska. And then, of course, there's some of that moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. And when all three of those things meet out here, then that's when we get the big storm. Now, watch that trough really dig down here around Wednesday near 4 p.m. This is really when the gates of moisture really start to open up here in the southern U.S. We're going to see a lot of warm temperatures and high dew points advect into Texas and Oklahoma during this time period. And in conjunction with our trough coming down, we're going to have a lot of lift out here. So we do expect some severe weather in this area on Wednesday, and it's only going to amplify as it moves east. At the same time, on the backside, a lot of that moisture is getting thrown back into some cold air. So we do expect snow and possibly even some freezing rain and sleet, maybe a significant winter storm for some people on the backside here. And we're going to get into all that right here in a second. Let's keep pushing it forward. That trough really extends and tries to deepen here on Thursday. This is once again going to cause big problems in the deep south with severe weather. And the deeper this trough gets, the more negatively tilted it gets. Remember the baseball swing, guys. The more this little notch right here digs out, the more snow and ice you could potentially get on the backside as well. Okay, so this is the big picture. This is everything that's going on. Remember, we got a two-part storm. We got severe weather and we got snow and ice. We're going to start off today talking about the severe weather, and that's what we're going to do right now. All right, starting off with the Euro instantaneous flash rate. This is going to show us where lightning could occur, and we're going to use this to try to find out where those storms are going to be popping up and just give you a general idea before we start looking at all the other maps where the colors cover everyone and everybody's like so confused. This is where we're expecting storms, okay? Things can shift a little bit, but this is the area where some of those storms could be popping up on Wednesday. Look here, around 8 p.m. p.m., possibly some supercell storms could be popping up around Wichita Falls, all the way up through the Red River into central Oklahoma as well. Once again, conditions are favorable for supercells out here, and that means tornadoes are possible. And look, 8 p.m. is when it starts, so we could be talking about nocturnal tornadoes. And then look at this, as we go later on into the night, 12 a.m. All the way into 2 a.m., those storms really start to fire up and become even stronger, possibly producing some straight line damaging winds and hail at this time. And of course, we are also going to see that continued threat for tornadoes. And then as we get into like 6, 7 a.m. early in the morning, this stuff's going to travel into the mid-Mississippi River Valley and then into Arkansas, eastern Texas, and Louisiana. Even though there's going to be less energy for the storms at this time, I still believe we have quite a significant severe weather threat. It's not the heat and the convective energy that's really driving these storms. It's the dry line, it's the cold front, it's the overall trajectory of that low, and that's still going to be happening at night. So I do think we're going to continue to see the potential for damaging winds and hail overnight here all the way through Thursday in the morning. Now, here's where things get a little bit sketchy, okay? Later in the day on Thursday around 12 to 1 p.m., all of those parameters for severe weather, the high convective energy, the dew points, the nadir juice, all of that stuff really ramps up, and I think this is going to be the time when we see the most significant storms, okay? Down here in the deep south from Mississippi into maybe even portions of Middle Tennessee and of course into Alabama, you guys are going to be dealing with severe weather all day on Thursday, and this is almost certainly going to be a time where I have to go live. So once again, make sure you stay tuned here and pay attention to all that. Now, there's a very slight chance that on Friday, a little something tries to respark up here in the Carolinas, down into Georgia and Florida. But as of right now, it doesn't look very significant. So we're going to focus on this area and really dive into what can happen with this severe weather as far as the tornadoes and straight line damaging winds go right now. Once again, here on the North American model, you can see that that little kink, that little neutral area of increased vorticity is kind of hanging on there, and it does eject off to the north and east and add a little bit more oomph to our overall 500 millibar wind field there. So we've got to pay attention to the NAM because, you know, this is a short range model. It's supposed to be higher resolution. It's supposed to be a little bit better. And then of course, if we go closer to the surface and look at the 850 millibar winds, this is one of the reasons why we think that the ceiling on this event could be so high. When you combine this factor with other aspects like moisture, convective energy, and all that stuff, we do call this tornado juice because anytime you see those browns and whites, the atmosphere is usually pretty ripe in this situation for tornadoes. Now remember, we're only talking about an area down here. Everybody north of that, this is not tornado juice for you. It has to be combined with other things like moisture. And as you can see, we got a big old warm bubble coming up into Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas during this time period on Thursday. And that is going to cause potentially major problems over here in the deep south. And once again, the tornado threat is there, but during this system on Thursday, I think the main thing is going to be straight line damaging winds because there's really not going to be a lot of opportunities for supercells to form. But you put a squall line together in conjunction with those 850 millibar winds, what we call nadir juice, which by the way, up here, the NAM is saying these winds could approach 80 to 90 knots. Some of those winds will be filtered down to the surface, and it's just not going to be a pretty situation if that's actually what happens. This is why the Storm Prediction Center has put out that slight risk of severe weather for Wednesday, and then that 15% chance on Thursday. I do believe that that will eventually become an enhanced risk for severe weather on Thursday, and of course, we're going to be watching that closely as we go forward. Now, I'm already getting messages on social media from people being like, oh my goodness, is this another December 10th? Is this another March 25th? Is this as bad as the last tornado outbreak that we got? I'm freaking out here. Guys, my answer to that is no. Okay, the parameters here are high, the ceiling is high, but there's not a lot of consistency that tells me that we're going to see a widespread, high-risk, severe weather kind of historic tornado outbreak, okay? However, the severe weather risk is definitely there for a lot of people, and it doesn't matter if it's a historic outbreak or not. If that tornado, whether it's small or big, comes down your street towards your house or your place of work, you're going to wish you would have prepared, okay? So take everything I'm saying here and just have it in the back of your mind that you need to have a plan plan in place for if that tornado warning does get issued, what am I going to do? There's no reason to freak out. Don't be scared, be prepared. Another very good thing to have during a situation like this is a top of the line, top shelf radar app. And you guys know that means it's time to talk about our sponsor, Radar Omega, a powerful tool for more than just radar. Severe weather season is coming up, and it just makes sense to have the best storm tracking app in your possession. Keep your eyes on the weather before, during, and after the storm with Radar Omega's high-res radar imagery and lightning data, up-to-date watches and warnings for all types of weather, tons of live HD weather cameras right inside of the app, and up-to-date storm reports, and of course my favorite tool, which is being able to look at the satellite and radar in 3D. There's quite literally nothing else like it. This is not a want, guys, this is a need, so please go down to the description right now and download Radar Omega on iOS or Android. You know you want it and you will not regret it, okay? So let's get back into the video. All right, now let's talk about that snowstorm, because it's not just severe weather that we've got to deal with this storm. Let's skibbity boop boop right up to the point. And here we are around Thursday at 1 p.m. Our big storm is causing our severe weather in the south. And then you can see this big area of ice and snow from Kansas into Missouri, portions of Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, way on up into extreme northern Indiana, and portions of Michigan as well. So a widespread big-time winter storm here, possible according to the GFS. That's heavy snow in the dark purples there, and that's heavy sleet and freezing rain in the pinks. So big-time impacts could happen here as we go into later in the day on Thursday. You can see how we have that storm deepening down to a 989 millibar low. Gusty winds and heavy snow are now happening in central Michigan and in Chicago. Possibly some freezing rain in Ottawa. Okay, so this is a little bit more of a northerly trajectory according to the GFS, but still a very potent storm with very heavy snowfall rates all the way up into Quebec there. And of course, the Northeast stays all rain for this, except for maybe a little bit of snow on the backside as that comes through. How about the Canadian? It's a lot further south. This is like a completely different looking system on the Canadian here. As you can see, that brings the freezing rain and sleet into Kentucky, like some of the places that got hit by it this last storm, and it even brings some snow into upstate New York and Maine and into New Brunswick there. So that's quite a bit further south. What about the Euro? The Euro is also a little bit further south and also quite a bit weaker. You can see how the snow and the freezing rain isn't as intense here as it affects off to the north and east, but still that means more snow for Maine up there on the last second. And then of course our medium range data, the NAM here does kind of, it shows a little bit of something in the middle. And this is the track that I like the most. I think this makes the most sense right now. So that's what we're going with, this and the GFS. Now if it does take that more southerly track, we have a lot more to talk about in the coming days, so make sure you are subscribed. Here's a look at that potential snowfall from the GFS model. Once again, this is a little bit further north than what we think it could possibly be, but still a bunch of snow. If you're in the purples or the pinks, that's Snowtown, baby, in Missouri, southeastern Iowa, northern portions of Illinois, the northern portion of Chicago, even all the way through central Michigan into Ontario and Quebec. GFS is also the most bullish with freezing rain there, with a potential ice storm near Detroit. As of right now, though, we're not putting too much faith into this because the ice is just too much for the GFS, which is something that we have learned here over the past little bit. Now, the NAM model doesn't go out far enough to really tell us what's going to happen north and east of here, but once again, this is the track that I like the most. I think you're going to get some heavy snow there in East Kansas, north central Missouri, and into northern portions of Illinois as well. I think that the bullseye is definitely going to set up here. Now, does that mean you're going to get 6 inches of snow or 2 feet? I don't know yet, okay, somewhere in between there, but that's certainly where I think the bullseye is going to be right now. If there is any shift at all, though, it is going to go to the south and east. I don't think this is going to trend any further to the north. And of course, also the NAM is showing a little bit more of a significant icing event as well. So we have to watch this very closely. It is certainly not milk and bread time just yet. We will let you know for sure tomorrow what and all we think is going to happen with the exact placement of the ice and the snow, with only little changes from there. The model runs that come out today are of great importance, obviously. All right, huge shout out to our members over here, guys. Once again, Vince and Reed are on their way out there to the plains to try to track this severe weather system. I think it could be pretty significant. I don't think it's the end of the world, but you should certainly be subscribed with notifications on so you get that notification when things do go sideways. Also, if you live in the snow zone, things are going to change a lot between now and tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for tomorrow's video. That's right, I am going to have a video tomorrow. It's going to be daily now until this thing's over. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.